Hey, everybody, we are back and we have a very special guest artist with us today. He's an old friend of mine and he is from Sweden, as are so many great trumpet players. He studied back in the day at the Dick Grove School of Music back in Los Angeles, where he was also working, studying with Bobby Shew and Chuck Findley. And he's been working as a freelance musician for over 30 years, and he's also a part-time teacher as well. He's been a member of the Sandviken Big Band, which is a great big band in Sweden since 1998. He does a lot of their solo work for them, and they've performed concerts with such renowned artists as Bobby Shew, Chuck Findley, James Morrison, Randy Brecker, Diane Schuur, and many, many others. And he's also performed in concert with some of the biggest names in Sweden, such as Jill Johnson, Anders Berglund, Viktoria Tolstoy, Gunhild Carling. She's actually Danish, I think, isn't she? Nils Landgren, who we also know, great trombone player, and many others. He's performed for Swedish TV. He's been on all sorts of tours. And in addition to playing great trumpet and flugelhorn, he's also a great player on the EVI. So welcome Joachim Tromark with us today. Great to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
You bet.
All right. Well, thanks for being here. I'm going to throw out the first question. Bobby mentioned having played with Chuck Findley and Bobby Shew as guest artists in Sweden, but I understand you also studied with them in Los Angeles
yes,
as you were going to school at the Dick Grove School. So can you tell us about that time you spent there?
Yeah, it was a fantastic year. I always wanted to go to California and study music. And I heard about the Grove School from a friend of mine who was studying at the MI in the 80s. And he recommended the school and said it was a real good place to go if you wanted to learn more of jazz and studio work and all that stuff. So I applied and I got in and I went there. And the rest is history. It's fantastic. It's the best year of my life, really.
Wow, that's a big statement.
Yeah.
So
I remember.
I'm sorry, Bobby. Were you a regular student then of Bobby Shew and Chuck Findley, or was that just an occasional lesson here and there?
My main teacher at Grove was Jay Versa, also a really great trumpet player, a well-known trumpet player. And he was my main teacher on trumpet, and he was also fantastic. But I heard about Bobby that he just lived a couple of blocks from where I lived in Van Nuys. And it was the lead trumpet player of Norrbotten Big Band who mentioned this to me. And we studied there at the same time. His name is Bo Strandberg. I don't know if you know that guy.
I think he's.
I don't know him, but
yeah.
I know that name. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a great trumpet player, and he gave me the phone number to Bobby, and I called him up and I said, "Hey, can you help me?" Sure. So
I was with Bobby at that time too. I think back in those days, back in that studio that he had with the drum set in the, his basically all his record collection and everything. That was a lot of fun. I got a lot of fond memories from there.
I recommend the sign when I came into his studio. There's clap on 1 and 3, go to Jay. That was the first thing I saw.
Very funny. Well, one of the things we want to talk about this year with a lot of the artists we're bringing on into these interviews is something that we haven't discussed at length with other people, but it's kind of what's your philosophy on playing? Because playing trumpet to everybody can be almost polar opposites. There's a lot of ways to approach it. And there's a lot of ways to explain it. And the thing about it is some people are really locked into certain systems, and if that really works great for you, that's great. Paul and I both agree on this. We're not. We try to take a little bit here and a little bit there and figure out what works for us. And we've noticed that you can say the same thing maybe 5 different ways to explain a technique. And it might be the 5th one when somebody finally goes, bing, aha, now I get it. So what's kind of your overall philosophy of playing, as far as approaching the horn and, how, what it takes to really get things working for you?
Well, first of all, when I started, I just fell in love with the sound of the trumpet. It was like, it was talking to me. This is the instrument. So I just picked it up, and I was very fortunate because my father was running a music store in the 70s for many, many years. And he brought instruments to me. So I was kind of spoiled. So I always had great instruments in my hands, and I just enjoyed it. I mean, I don't really know if I have any clear philosophy of playing the trumpet, but I just love the instrument, and it's what you can make with it, what you can do with it. You can change your sound, you can play lead, you can play soft, you can play flugelhorn, you can play different styles of music. And
there's definitely a broad range of colors with our instrument. Some instruments have that, others don't have quite as much. So I would totally agree with it. I mean, the sound is kind of what captured me as well.
Yeah, I think that's a great point as well, Joachim. Just that you fell in love with it. You had to play the trumpet. That's great.
Yeah.
So, what were your main influences then, growing up, as far as how you developed your sound and your style and approach to playing?
Well, there was a lot of music around the house when I was a kid, and my father was a quite good jazz piano player. He also plays an organ. And he always listened a lot to records. And I grew up with Count Basie and a lot of Brazilian music. He loved Jobim and Astor Gilberto. And it's like, we also listened a lot to classical music and to rock music. So I've been very fortunate. I've been brought up with many different styles of music, but it was when my dad came home with a Freddie Hubbard album, and he put that on the turntable, and I was lost. This is it. I think the album was High Energy. You know that album?
Yeah.
I think it's from 1974, and I was like 9 years old, and that was it. That was it. I fell in love with the trumpet, especially Freddie then. Yeah.
Well, that's an amazing influence, Freddie. Boy, he just swung in a way that nobody else did.
And then I heard the Butteridge Big Swing Face album that made a real great impact on me as a player. It was Bobby Shew on lead, and there was this guy playing some great solos on it. And I just checked the album. Chuck Findley. I'd never heard about the name before, but I was really knocked off. That's how I want to sound like.
And I think he was only like 19 or 20 years old or something back in that time, right? I mean, it's crazy to think of how well he played.
So that's my main influences, really. And of course, I listen a lot to classical players like Maurice Andre, and I haven't played much of that music myself, but I would love to.
Well, I think it's good just to be open to lots of, types of music, because I'm the same way. I mean, I listen to lots of different kinds of Latin music and jazz and pop stuff, Motown music. I mean, it's not that I listen to all of it. But I mean, I all the time, but I do try to expand my horizon. And now having kids and a son that's producing music and into hip hop and other things outside of jazz, he's kind of opened my mind to a little bit more of what's out there. So it is interesting. So I have to ask you, so, I think a lot of folks on our site are really aware of Bobby Shew and, some of his teaching ideas, his playing ideas. We've interviewed Bobby here. We had a couple of episodes with him on there, which was great. And I've only met Chuck. I don't really know him. I've never studied with him, but what people have told me is that, him and his brother were kind of into the, I think the Caruso, some of those ideas about playing and strengthening your face and, getting things together. How was that working with him? What kinds of things did you work on that? Did you work on other things outside of that?
Yeah, we had like 2-3 lessons, me and Chuck.
Okay.
And he introduced the Caruso method for me, like the basics, the 6-note warm up and that stuff. And I still use that. I think it's really, really been helpful. Just getting the air without using your tongue, just get the vibrations in the lips and not moving the mouthpiece. It's really a great warm up. And I use the Caruso when I am like playing executive notes, like a high D or what it might be. I don't move my chops, and it really helps. It really works.
Right. You're talking about it if you're just going pop, pop, pop,
right.
Yeah, maintaining that set.
Yes. If you're set, you're set. Don't change. Don't move. No, just
Well, and that's even a good point too, because I did manage to take, have a little bit of personal time with Carmine, but that was part of the thing. And that's sometimes breathing through the nose helps refrain from, changing that set.
Now, is that something that you still do as a regular routine, or do you mix and match things? Because Bobby and I, as he said, we don't have one dogmatic kind of, approach, but for me, I'll do Adams one day and I'll maybe do Caruso another day. How about you?
Yes, that's exactly with me. Same thing with me. I mix a lot of ideas. I just happen to really like this idea of, and I think it's James Stamp who came up with it first, like getting the air, just make the muscles vibrate. So I combine the Caruso with Stamp. I do those bending notes.
Right.
Like if you warm up with the 6th note, I bend the last note just to get,
find your center and get everything vibrating correctly. Yeah.
Yes.
I do that too. I do that same thing. I've brought the Stamp. Stamp was one of my main teachers. Stamp and Shew, I consider my main teachers. But that bending thing is really helpful. I think if I were to offer a tip about bending right now, one of the things that people do is they bend the note with just their lips, but you really need to support that note, because without that support, everything starts to fall apart there, and it doesn't help you when you're doing that. So so that's great.
Yeah, I think there's a difference between bending and just playing flat. When I think about playing flat, I just kind of go blah, and I open everything up and I let it kind of drop off the pitch. But bending, as Bobby said, you're really, honing in on that center, and I think it's so much more beneficial than just going and playing flat.
Yeah.
Well, and the other thing that Stamp talked about was, when you're going from one note to another, ba, you're not going to go ba, you go ba, and that note lasts all the way to here, and then you immediately drop down to the center, and then you go right back to the center of the next note. And he explained it to me. It's like, he says, it's just like playing a piano. If you're going to play C to B on a piano, you don't go C and bend the note down to B and then telegraph which direction you're going. And that's something that it's a negative effect on our chops. It screws us up. It messes with the intonation and all that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
And it takes away a lot of your endurance. It's any extraneous muscle movement, it's taken away from all of that.
It really helps to get you back in the saddle. Like we're talking about COVID, like not playing for many weeks, maybe, and doing that stuff, the stamp and the Caruso warm up, and really take care of your chops, really gets you back in the saddle real fast.
Mm-hmm.
That was actually going to be my next question. Was
really?
Coming out of COVID, like
Sorry.
so give us no, it's excellent timing. So give us let's say you have a really important and kind of strenuous gig that you're planning for in a week or two. Tell us what you would do to get like really in great performance shape for that.
First, it's the warm up is essential, and I always do that warm up. It doesn't a proper warm up about 5 to 10 minutes, not more. And
so
then
tell us about your warm up. What would you do?
Yeah, I do the Caruso and the stamp. I try to mix them mostly.
Do you ever, just out of curiosity, since you said stamp, do you do mouthpiece buzzing or do you not?
I don't do mouthpiece buzzing nowadays. I did before. I do more of buzzing my lips, really, and fluttering to get the blood circulation work.
Absolutely.
Then I work for short periods. I take a rest, and during the whole day I play like for 15-20 minutes, and I take a rest for half an hour, and then I do 20 more minutes, and I build up my strength. So I never play for a whole hour or an hour and a half. I never do that. It's like cleaning all the windows and take a hammer and smash them out. I really need to build the strength. Yeah, it's like a bit like going to the gym, I guess.
Yeah, it's also like, when you play a lot, you feel it a lot. Your chops get swollen, and things don't necessarily feel right. But when you're on and off throughout the day, you can maintain this kind of optimum feeling. And always, this is a big deal for me personally. It's like I want this thing to feel good on my face every time I put it on. That's not always possible, but but I try my best to keep feeling fresh and good.
It's for me. It's like finding every day to find the sweet spot. Really, the main goal. And not to practice yourself tired.
Exactly. This is a big point for a lot of people. They keep practicing and playing no matter how tired they are. And they think they're going to, and I'm one of these guys that used to do this all the time. You think I'm going to get stronger. I'm going to be really great, and then finally everything falls apart and you go, what the hell happened? But as we get older, hopefully we get a little bit wiser and smarter about how to practice and what works for us, and knowing where those limits are for us.
Yeah, when you get time, put the horn down.
I've definitely played with some people that by the time they get to the end of the gig and they've got nothing left, they're really happy about it because, there's nothing left to give. And they're going, yes, I got there. And I'm thinking, wouldn't it be better to get there and have lots to spare and know that the next day you're going to feel good too? So it's a different philosophy there, and one that I used to be, the former, and now trying to get a little smarter in my older age. It's an uphill battle, I gotta say.
Yes.
So then after your warm up, what else do you continue doing? What other kinds of things do you like to touch much on, I mean, are you like, I've heard people like friends of mine, some people say, I practice this on Mondays, this on Tuesdays, and then some people practice a little bit of everything every day. Others practice differently. So what's your approach to this?
Sometimes I really enjoy playing etudes, like the upper register.
Oh yeah.
I think that's Jimmy Stamp as well. I really love those.
Yeah.
And I love to play this Italian, what's the name of it? I think it's a trombone book.
Concone?
Not Concone. It's
Bordoni.
Bordoni.
That's a favorite of mine too. Yes.
Yeah, Bordoni. I really love those. I got to feel that I play music. It's really important for me. It's I'm performing. When I play, I perform.
And they are beautiful melodies too. They feel good and they sound good. So
yes.
That's why I love them.
And I have in the back of my mind, just like you're saying, even if I'm playing an arpeggio exercise or some kind of whatever range stretching thing, and it's just a plain half notes going up, I still try to, can I make this musical and can I connect everything in a musical way rather than sounding mechanical? Even though we have mechanical things we're doing that we need to keep in control with our body, our air and our tongue and our jaw and all that stuff, Yes.
So, I always try to play everything as beautiful as I can. Even when I'm teaching, I have kids or small kids, and I play those nursery rhymes and easy melodies. I always try to play the best I can.
Sometimes those are the hardest to do. I know for me, when I've been out on the road and I'm, beating myself up, and then I go to do a lesson and just play the simplest etudes, and man, it sounds like crap sometimes, because I just have been neglecting the fundamentals.
Yeah.
So, Joachim, do you have a natural progression, like throughout the day, even if you're mixing things up? Like, for instance, always get a good warm up in, you said, and then is the next thing always kind of a lyrical section of your practice, like the Bordoni and the upper register stuff, or do you mix the order of things up throughout the day?
I usually do that, the warm up and some melodical stuff. It can also be a jazz ballad or whatever, just some kind of thing that really I really feel the sweet spot of the instrument, and then I go on and practice on my big band book.
Well, speaking of your big band book, tell us a little bit about your time with the Sandviken Big Band, because I know I've heard some of the recordings of that band, and it's amazing.
It's a great band. It started 1968, long before I came with the band, and they have practically played with everyone. It's really unique, fantastic. They have been toured Canada and all over Europe, and it's a fantastic band, really, and it continues. I've been with them now since 1998. That's about, I think it's 23 years. It's real fun. Nice guys.
So Paul and I were chatting prior to you coming on about, I was telling him a little bit about this band and you and all that stuff. And he was wondering if the bands in Sweden, like in certain other parts of the world or in Europe, are funded, are government funded. And I told him that I knew that at one time, at least when I first started going there, you had the Stockholm Radio Orchestra, the Radio Big Band. I know that our friend Gustavo Bergali played in there, and a bunch of people I've met along the way. But is this Sandviken Big Band a band that's partially or fully funded by the state?
Not by the state, but by the city of Sandviken.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah, and we have this, Sandvik, the big steel company.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they give us some money too.
Subsidize it a little bit.
Yeah. So we have sponsors. We have really, so that's why it has survived. It's absolutely fantastic. Yeah.
So tell us, who are some of your favorite artists you've backed up on that, with that big band? What stands out?
Wow.
Because there's been so many, but if there's just like maybe two or three that really stand out, who was it?
I really must say it's the concert we did with Robin Ford. It was fantastic. The band was really taking off, really. And it was really actually my idea to bring Robin. So I said, why don't we bring Robin to play with the band? Because he has been to Sandviken and played at the jazz festival like 3-4 times before. So he knew the city and he knew the festival. We'll try and see if, and he did.
So when you did that, did he have his own charts, or did you agree on some stuff? And did you guys write some of your own charts for him?
He brought his own charts. I think it was one of the German bands that has written the charts. If it was NDR or WDR, I'm not sure, but it was from Germany. We got the charts. So, and it was really nice. It was from his latest albums.
So do you also have staff writers with the Sandviken orchestra too?
Yeah, we have some. Yes. There's a guy, he's actually from Sweden. I think he lives in San Francisco. Lars Halle. He's a great arranger, really, really good. And we have some other guys. Daniel Nolgård has written some really nice charts for us. And
Sweden is loaded with talent.
I have written a couple of charts too.
So awesome.
Excellent.
Yeah, Sweden is loaded with talent. I mean, God, I mean, not just trumpeters. I mean, there's a lot of great trumpeters in Sweden that I've run across over the years, but sax players and rhythm players and all that. I mean, there's just some interesting music, and it's an interesting. Also, I think it's an interesting perspective and a type of jazz. I think Sweden has, in many ways, their own sound. There's kind of like this Nordic or this kind of Swedish sound. And I seem like when I hear something being played on a radio or something, I go, I wonder if that's Swedish. It's sounds like a little bit like this, or it's a little bit, there's a kind of I always say, and I don't say this in a negative way at all, but it's almost kind of like the weather sometimes. It's kind of like it's a gray day and there's a little bit of rain. Absolutely. And it's beautiful in its own way, so so there's it's kind of like ECM records in a way. They have their own sound, and it's a European jazz sound as opposed to a New York style sound or whatever.
I was actually about to mention ECM.
So is it in the way that it swings, or is it in the timbre that you guys are talking about? So for a completely non-educated, I guess, person on that sound, that Swedish sound, and I'm not sure that I'd be able to go, if I'm hearing something and go, oh, I wonder if that's Swedish. What exactly is it? Like I said, is it the timbre? Is it?
Yeah, the timbre, the mood.
It's a kind of vibe,
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, like for me, a lot of music, well, it depends. Like some Latin music, if you hear we'll say like some tropical music, it's happy and it's sunny and you can picture palm trees and coconuts and stuff, right? But when I hear this is, I guess the word I would use for it would be introspective. There's a lot of thought. It causes you to think, and I don't know, there's just kind of a vibe. You can't, because there's a broad spectrum of it at the same time. It's not like it all sounds the same.
So here's another question for you. Maybe this is deep, but how did you stay motivated through all of the COVID time, and how are you staying motivated now as gigs are just starting to ramp up now? We hear that question from people on our
Yeah.
Facebook page all the time, like, "Oh man, I haven't played in a month, and I I guess I really should." How are you
Yeah.
staying motivated?
Well, I think I've been very fortunate that I have my teaching job. Uh, because if I didn't have my teaching job, I would probably I would have been in big trouble now. So I can put food on the table, and I feel good about myself, and I have a work to go to, and so it's really good. And I play every day at my job, so I keep up my chops the whole time, really.
So are you
And
teaching in a school or?
it's a music school, like culture
Oh,
school.
okay. Uh-huh.
Yeah. So I have these little kids. Well, they're up to for third grade in gymnasium.
Mhm.
from
Okay, so there's a wide range of kids then.
yeah, from like 6, 7 years old and up. So it's real fun, and we have ensembles, and so I'm fortunate.
So are you back to teaching live then, or did you do a lot of stuff over
Yeah,
the internet?
we really we never shut down. Uh, we just continue.
I was just there over Christmas,
Yeah.
and it was interesting to be there as an American because I had just spent, whatever it was, 17 hours getting in transit and changing planes and all that stuff, but wearing a mask the whole time. And then, of course, when we got to we went to Iceland first, then Denmark, and then we came into the south of Sweden. So the other countries around there were very vigilant and they were very into, being socially distanced and masked and everything. But when we got to Sweden, it was like, wow, this is just like regular times again here,
It's as usual.
Yeah. But there were times, I believe, right, when like, I've been told, I know a lot of people, musicians were out of work as well because the theaters were shut down and restaurants even closed, but they closed later than our restaurants and theaters, and then they opened up sooner. My last night I was over there was December 27th, and I went to a really great concert with of a friend of mine, Jan Landgren, who's just a brilliant piano player.
I know.
And so he had a really interesting string ensemble that he was performing with in the Istad Theater there, where I've been able to play before once as well at a festival, which was really cool. But that was the only time that I needed to be masked, really, in Sweden. I think you're supposed to be masked on the trains and buses and stuff, but people just kind of don't do it. But, I was talking to people out there, and I know that the rest of the world saw Sweden at the beginning of COVID basically going the opposite direction of everybody else. But now at the end of the day, it seems like the death rate, the percentage death rate, and the people that's affected is still about the same as everybody else.
Not compared to Norway and Finland and Denmark. It's way above.
Oh, it is.
Yes, really.
Okay, so I didn't realize that.
No, you can have opinions about it. That it's been kind of weird, really.
Well, I don't want to get political over here, but there's people that believe in it, people that don't believe in the vaccines and stuff. And at the end of the day, we don't want to see people die unnecessarily. And then on the other side of that coin, I'm a Libra, so I can say this, I always got this balance thing going on. But at the end of the day, it's kind of like I have my vaccines and I have a booster shot. So I've been 3 times now, but now this Omicron is out, and it's like, oh, now there's another one coming out. There's another one coming out, and I don't know that I want to keep taking these every 6 months or whatever for every little variant that comes out. And then I see the pharmaceutical companies going, oh yeah, this is going to be a lot of money for us, So I don't know what the right answer is. I guess it's a personal thing, but I would like to just see this behind us so we can all fully get back to work, because this has really affected all of us. I mean, but Paul, and myself, and it still has affected me. Paul is on the road quite a bit, and he's back to work with Disney and that right now. But for me, I'm still primarily just a musician, and even though we're doing corporate events and private parties and a few theatrical things, the amount of them are way down, and people are afraid to book out 6 months or a year like they normally are, because they don't know what's going to happen. And we don't know what's going to happen. Yeah. So it's a little scary,
Yeah. Now it's getting new restrictions in Sweden right now. They will only allow 500 in the audience from Wednesday. So it's getting back.
We had it down to like 10 people. You can't get together for a private party. Like if you're having a birthday or something, you can't have more than 10 people, and you should do it outside, not inside, and you should be masked. And so, it's definitely gotten better. So I hope it continues to get better. Well, Joachim, we are just about out of time, and we really appreciate you spending some time being here with us. It's been a long time we've known each other. It's a pleasure to have you here. I think we're going to end, Paul. Let's end with a quick lightning round with Joachim, and all you got to do is you got to just think. You got to just answer what first comes to your mind. No big deal. We'll ask you a couple of questions, and I'll go first. So. What book are you reading right now? Not like Kronblum or something, but I mean a book.
Right now, I'm not reading any book, actually. I don't remember which one was the last one I read, but no.
Then how about the? Okay, so then I'll let Paul ask the next one.
Okay. Let me see. Cross country or downhill skiing? What's your favorite?
None of them.
None of them. Okay. I just figured Sweden, lots of snow. That's just a Canadian in me asking.
Yeah.
Have you ever watched the Wallander series?
Yeah.
Wallander series over there.
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
Okay. All right. Yeah. That's a big police drama, and it was filmed down in the South where my wife and her family is from. And I always love seeing all the places that we've been. So
it's really beautiful down there.
Well, thanks so much for spending some time with us. We're going to have to bring you back in the future and get some more and learn some more about you. But this has been super fun, and we thank you so much. And we'll look forward to chatting with you again real soon.
Great honor to be on the show.
Yeah, thanks you again, for being here.